Welcome to The Explainer. Hey, if you've got an exam on the horizon, then you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to deconstruct a concept that can seem a little tricky, but trust me, it's absolutely packed with easy marks if you just know the basic structure. I'm talking about the Decision Support System, or DSS for short.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with a solid definition. Then we're going to walk through the four, and only four, key components, one by one. I'll give you some simple analogies to make them really stick, and we'll wrap it all up with a summary slide that is basically your revision cheat sheet. Sound good? Let's get into it.
All right, Section 1. What is a DSS? I mean, beyond just being a piece of software, let's really lock in a precise, exam-ready definition right now. Okay, here it is. Now, the big takeaway, the thing you absolutely have to remember, is that a DSS isn't just one single program. It's an integrated system. Think of it like a team of different parts all working together. And what's its main job? Well, it's all about helping managers make those really tough, messy calls. You know, the ones that the textbook calls semi-structured and unstructured decisions. Basically, any situation where there isn't a simple black and white answer. So, how does this team actually work? Let's break it down, starting with component number 1, the data foundation. Now, to make this super easy to remember for your exam, I want you to imagine the entire DSS is like a super experienced senior business advisor. And this first part, the data foundation, well, that's the advisor's perfect, flowless memory. Yep, it all starts with the data. This is the bedrock, the solid, reliable base of information that everything else is built on. And let's be clear, if the data is bad, the whole system is useless. It completely falls apart. Garbage in, garbage out, right? So this memory has 3 key pieces you need to know. First, you've got the database itself. That's where all the info is stored. Second, and listen up, this is a major keyword for your exam, you have the Database Management System, or DBMS. You've got to remember that acronym. It's the librarian, basically, organizing and protecting all the data. And third, you have the query facility. That's just a fancy term for the tool that lets a normal person, a manager, ask the database questions in plain English. Okay, so our business advisor has a perfect memory. That's a great start. But now they need a brain. And that brings us right to component number 2, the analytical engine. This is where all the real thinking, the heavy lifting actually happens. Exactly. So if the data foundation was all about just storing the facts, this component is all about intelligence. It's the analytical muscle. This is the part that digs into all that raw data and starts to find the hidden patterns, the trends, the actual insights. This is the raw brain power of the whole operation. So how does it work its magic? Well, it uses something called a model base. Just think of that as a huge toolbox filled with all sorts of pre-programmed mathematical, financial, and statistical tools. And hey, just like the data part had its manager, the DBMS, well, this part has a model-based management system, the MBMS. See the pattern? This is the engine that allows the DSS to do some really powerful stuff, like forecasting future sales or analyzing financial risks. And this right here is its core job. These 2 phrases are absolute gold for your exam answer, so write these down. First, you have what-if analysis. That's asking questions like, hey, what happens to our profit if our main supplier jacks up their prices by 10%? Then you have goal-seeking, which is basically the reverse. It's asking, okay, we want to hit a 15% profit margin. What sales figures do we need to make that happen? See? Super powerful stuff. Okay, so we've got a perfect memory and a powerful brain, but how does the manager actually talk to this brilliant advisor? Well, that brings us to component 3, the user's gateway. Or, sticking with our analogy, this is the advisor's communication skills, their ability to listen and to explain things clearly. Now pay attention to this, because this is a point the textbooks love to make, and you should definitely mention it in your exam. The user interface is often considered the most critical component of the entire system, and there's a really, really good reason for that. Its whole job, its entire reason for being, is to act as a bridge between the human user and all of that complex technology humming away in the background. It has to make all that data and all that powerful analysis easy to understand for a manager who, let's be honest, is an expert in business, not in coding. And the bottom line here is just so simple. If the interface is clunky or confusing or just hard to use, then the entire system is a failure. I mean, it doesn't matter how smart the brain is if you can't actually communicate with it, right? That's why modern systems rely so heavily on things we all understand: graphical user interfaces, dashboards, charts, and maps to make those complex insights pop. And that brings us to our fourth and final component. So our advisor has memory, a brain, and communication skills. What else could they possibly need? Well, how about decades of experience and intuition? That's what this last piece, the knowledge-based component, brings to the table. Okay, and here's a little detail that will really make your exam answers stand out from the crowd. It is absolutely crucial to remember that this component is basically an optional upgrade. It's an advanced feature, and you won't find it in every single DSS out there. That's a top-tier point to make. Because this is where we officially bring artificial intelligence into the conversation. The knowledge-based component uses AI techniques to add a layer of actual human-like expertise right on top of all the data and the mathematical models we talked about earlier. So you might be wondering, how does that even work? Well, it often stores expert knowledge as a series of simple if-then rules. Something like, if sales in the Western region dip below this number for 2 months, then automatically flag a potential supply chain problem. But here's the really cool part. It doesn't just give a recommendation, it can actually explain its reasoning. It tells you why it thinks that's the right call. And this is a hallmark of another key term you should know, expert systems. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground, so let's pull it all together onto one single slide. Seriously, screenshot this, write it down. This is your exam revision cheat sheet. And here it is. This lays it all out for you, nice and clean. You've got the 4 components down the side. You've got the simple core function, our advisor analogy, to help you remember what each one does. And then, most importantly for your exam, you have the exact keywords you need to be using. DBMS, what if analysis, most critical, optional. It's all right there. This is how you show the examiner you really know your stuff. So there you have it. Nailing these 4 components is without a doubt the key to acing any exam question on decision support systems. But here's a final thought to leave you with, something to chew on after the exam is done. We called that knowledge-based component optional, but as AI gets more and more powerful, you have to wonder, right? Will that optional piece soon become the most important one of all? It's a really interesting thing to think about. All right, that's all for now. Thanks for joining us, and good luck with your studies.